Okay, so I'm definitely the fool in my story. I like to ride my bike, and I think it was in the spring, and maybe it may have been in the fall, I rode up to the Parkway, and I was having a great ride on the Parkway, Blue Ridge Parkway, and I hadn't brought, it was warm weather when I left, I hadn't brought like a jacket or snacks. And I was going up north on the Parkway, like from Town Mountain Road, so it was a lot of uphill riding. And I got all the way to the, I think it's called the Craggy Pinnacle Visitor Center. There's like some water fountains, and this was early enough in the season, or late enough, where the water fountains weren't turned on, so I didn't get water there. But I noticed on the visitor information plaque that there's actually, I don't know if you all know this, but there's a restaurant at the top of Mount Mitchell. And I was like, restaurant, yeah! I'm like halfway there. I could go eat at this restaurant. And so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna keep going. Like, yeah, I'm really hungry, but that'll like motivate me. So just after that, you go through a tunnel. I guess it's the Craggy Pinnacle Tunnel. And then it actually goes downhill after that, which is weird. And whenever you're on a bike, like, there's always this kind of feeling where you get to a downhill where you start thinking like, am I going to have to ride back up this downhill? Like, it's fun, it's fun to go downhill, but then there's always something in the back of your head like, if I had to turn around, that would be a problem. So I kind of had that feeling. And then it started pouring rain. And it got really cold, the clouds came over, and it was just pouring and pouring. And like after a while, I couldn't see, and I just pulled off and sort of just like sat next to the ditch in the rain and like waited it out. So I was totally soaking wet. Shorts, shirt, t-shirt, that was it. And then I thought, man, can I still go to the restaurant like this? It's like, maybe, I guess maybe. So I kept riding downhill, and then it gets to some more uphill. And I was starting to get tired, and it was starting to get darker. And then, I don't know how many of you have been to the Mount Mitchell State Park, but the Parkway goes to the entrance. And I had never been there before, but when you get to the entrance, it's 4 miles up Mount Mitchell from there to the top, and it's really steep. There's this bike race, the Assault on Mount Mitchell, that goes up that at the end, and it's the worst part, And so I started riding up that, and it was just killing me, and I was getting more and more tired, and it was getting darker, and I was really at this point, I was sort of not in my right mind. If I was at first at all, by this point, I was really kind of bad off. I think I tend to do this thing when I'm by myself where it's kind of not a healthy thing, but I sort of become reclusive, and I don't tend to ask people for help or directions or whatever. And so there were a couple pickup trucks going up, passing me, and I probably could ask for a ride, probably throw my bike in there. But I didn't, I just kept riding up, and I would have to stop on the side of the road and just kind of lay there in the grass for a while. And at one point, I think it was dark by then, I started getting the idea the restaurant's not even going to be open, and I thought maybe I could just camp in the woods. And I sort of went off. I was really out of it by this point. I think bikers and runners and stuff call this bonking, where your blood sugar just drops, and you kind of get crazy, and your muscles don't work well, and you're just not in your right mind. And so I had this idea that I would go like in the woods and build a shelter or something, and I started trying to get tree branches and stuff. And then I was thinking like, maybe there's something I can eat in here, you know? So really, pretty crazy. And I guess at that point I figured out that wasn't going to work, so I got back on my bike and I kept riding up, and I got to the top, and I think it was then I realized that the restaurant was closed, you know. And I was like soaking wet and dirty and like, you know, I don't know how that would have worked anyway. And you know, on the way up there's also some campgrounds, and I remember passing one campground and seeing this group of people all sitting around their nice warm campfire. And I don't know what it is with me, like I didn't feel like I could go up and say like, hey, could I try off at your campfire? Because I'm sure they would have been like, what the hell are you doing? Yeah, you know, like, you need some help, man. I don't know. But I got to somewhere up at the top, there was like some restrooms, and I got up there, and all there were Coke machines. There weren't any snack machines. And I did have some money, but I didn't want a Coke, you know? and I really wanted a snack, but so I didn't buy anything. And then I got the idea. I was like, oh, I can spend the night in the bathroom. And this whole time, like, also I guess I was thinking like, it's mostly downhill back to Asheville, so like, you know, that was something that had motivated me like throughout the ride. Like I kept thinking like, it'll be easy to turn around and go back, you know. But you forget about like the uphill parts, like that part after Craggy Pinnacle. And so yeah, I was like, oh, I can just ride back in the morning. I'll sleep in the bathroom, whatever, you know. And at some point, like this guy came and kicked me out of the bathroom. He came to lock the bathrooms. And, you know, like, I almost asked him for help, you know. I was like, I mean, like, probably he could have seen that I was, like, in a bad, like, situation. It gets really cold on Mount Mitchell, too, like, in the spring or the fall. It was pretty cold by then. I mean, I could tell, you know, I was, like, low blood sugar and short sleeves and wet clothes, and so, like, I was kind of like shivering and stuff. Maybe hypothermia in early stages, who knows, you know. And like, there was also a payphone up there, and I used my money to call some people, and I was getting a lot of people's like voicemail and stuff, and leaving messages, kind of crazy, probably crazy messages. They're like, hey, can you pick me up on the top of Mount Mitchell? And I think I left a few of those. And I remember this guy came and said like, oh yeah, you have to get out of here. And I think I asked him, all I could work up the courage to ask him was what town that was that you could see from, you know, the top down in the valley. And it was probably like Black Mountain or something. I don't know what it was, yeah. And I kind of asked him like how far away it was. And, yeah, maybe it was Marion or something. And like, yeah, I don't know. I guess part of me probably wished that he would have been like, man, I'll give you a ride out of here. He was probably going home. I don't know. But he didn't. You know, he was probably like, that's a weird guy. I'm getting out of here. And so I left people's on the voicemails. I left them the phone number for the payphone. And then I just, they had one of those big like rubber and felt mats out in front of the bathroom, and I just wrapped myself in that and lay there for a while. I don't know how long. And then the phone rang, and it was my roommate, and he had like come home and got my message, and he drove all the way up there, and he was not the kind of guy that would normally do that, you know, drive on the parkway even. Like he drove up with his fiance, and I think they were pretty freaked out. Like it was really misty, and it was pretty far. Like even to drive, it was pretty far. And I think they were kind of freaked out by the time they got there. And they got there and they said, oh, we don't have room in our car for your bike. And I was like, I don't care, I'm throwing it in the woods. And I did that and jumped in the car. and went home. Later, I did go back and get the bike. It was a little bit later, but I did decide I wanted it back. But I had this cousin that had talked about all her boy cousins and their death marches, and that was at some point I thought back and I realized that I was on this death march, and I realized that like there's probably something that a lot of things that I could learn from that whole experience. I think I have. So, anybody want to go on a bike ride next weekend? Let me know.